Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, Shur Torah. We're back at the Breslov Center in Aventura, Florida. For some reason, even though I've been saying it in almost every lecture lately, people still can't seem to get the idea that we're in Florida. I get at least 2 to 3 emails a week asking me where am I located or which part of Florida. I don't know why it's so difficult. I mean, you could just see it on the internet. It's very interesting. Very interesting. It actually means that I don't study enough Torah. That's what it means. It's a kitrug on me. Why? Sure, b'emet. Why? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says somebody that takes on themselves all Torah, someone that studies Torah, Hashem takes from him the all malchut, all the things of the world. If he doesn't, then he gives them the world. Meaning, if you study a lot of Torah, then Hashem's going to take care of your business. If you don't study enough Torah, then Hashem is going to say, oh, you don't study Torah, I have to give you something to do. So I'll give you IRS problems, health issues, this, that, everything. People sending you emails, all types of wonderful things. Why? You have to study Torah. See? Baruch Hashem, shiur was worth it just for me to learn this kitrug. Zat Hashem, I'll do tshuva. Anyway, Zat Hashem, now that shiur is finished for me actually right now. I'm done for today. So the rest of the shiur is for you guys. Bezat Hashem, the shiur will be refuah shlema for Viola Bat Jora, Lena Graham Bat Rosa Trupin, Dvora Feigi Bat Razel, Eliora Avramson Karapondo, Elad Ben Doris, David Ben Nesria, Doris Bat Jora, Levana Bat Sarah, Elisheva Chaya Bat Sarah, Yochevet Bat Batya, Dvora Bat Mercedes, Michael Ben Sarah Leah, and also for Ilui Nishmat, David Ben Masuda, Rabbenu's Rav Mizrahi's father, and Bezat Hashem, we will continue to learn this Mishnah in Avot and help our own neshamot get better status in this world, Bezat Hashem. So we're continuing the Mishnah in Avot. We are in the 7th shiur of this same Mishnah. This is so far the longest series within the series about a specific Mishnah, which was expected, and I think there's going to be at least 3 to 5 more lectures. At least 3 to 5 more lectures about this Mishnah, Be'ezrat Hashem. We'll see. So the Mishnah in Avot is trying to explain to us, at least, so hopefully by the time we finish this series, we all at the very least understand what does it mean to have the Keter Torah. What does it mean to actually have a crown of Torah? And by what does it mean, I don't mean definition. I don't mean definition, because if you want a definition for what Keter Torah means, the crown of Torah means, you don't even need to come to a shul. You go to rabbigoogle.com and you just write Keter Torah, and it'll give you some Wikipedia definition, which maybe will take you about 30 to 45 seconds to read, and then you're finished. So whenever I say what does it mean, I never mean definition. Some people think I mean definition. They start sending me definitions on Instant Messenger. I don't mean definition. I mean, what does it mean as far as its significance? What does it mean as far as to us, how to apply it? What is the underlying issue behind it? Why are we even talking about it? Why is there a whole Mishnah about it? And in so many words, why is this a crown that not only we should do everything to acquire, but we should not let up until we have it? Why is it something that we should chase just like we chase life? The problem today is that most people, you ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up? You ask kids, and they want to be lawyers, doctors, basketball players, some famous newscaster, something that they saw at some point that impressed them in some way. Journalist, thief, lawyer, thief, all types of thieves. Baruch Hashem, today there's a lot of thieves in every trade. No one actually says, I want to be honest when I grow up. I want to be honest. No one says, I want to be a tzaddik. No one says. Why? Because we don't understand the significance of being honest, the significance of being a tzaddik, the significance of being a Talmid Chacham, the significance of actually having a Keter Torah, the crown of Torah. So we say, oh wow, that's pretty cool that he had it. Like we talk about some big, Gdol Ador, talk about Rav Ovadia, Rav Eliashiv, the Stiplers, like wow, Chazak u'Baruch that he had it. He had the Keter Torah. You don't even have to talk about whether he had it or not. Oh yeah, this Rav, that Rav, yeah, Chazak u'Baruch that he had it. Wow, good for him. You never think to yourself, can I do it? Answer is yes. Should I do it? Answer is yes. Why haven't I done it? Because you don't really know what it means. Be'ezrat Hashem, the goal of this series, within the series, is for us to understand what does it mean to have this Keter Torah and why we should do everything and anything possible to acquire it throughout our lifetime as soon as possible. Some people could do it faster than others. Some people won't. It doesn't make a difference. The chase begins immediately. And immediately begins as soon as you identify that you need it. If you just want it, you're never going to acquire it. If you turn that want into need, you'll acquire it. Now, some can get it directly. Some will have to rely on their kids to do it. Like many women, Baruch Hashem, watch the shiurim. And even though they study and they learn and they're smart, to get the Keter Torah is not applicable to them because there are certain things that are not applicable to them within the Keter Torah aspect of it. But they could acquire, first of all, knowledge, and second of all, they could acquire the knowledge to implement within their family, to go send their husband to the kollel, to the yeshiva, to the shiur, instead of sending him to the supermarket. Yeah, you need him to go to the supermarket. But if you have a choice, send him to the supermarket or order the supermarket. Send him to the kollel or nothing, because you can't order the kollel. You have to send him to the kollel. You have to send him to the shiur. Any woman that knows what Keter Torah means will be more excited about sending her husband and children to go learn Torah than even they are. Because when they acquire it, she acquires it. And it's the only way she can. Now, of course, in this generation, everybody wants to compare themselves to Bruya, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes's wife. There was also a Talmidah Chachama. There was a couple of them throughout history. And apparently every woman that has a little bit of a interest in learning wants to compare herself to Bruya. And this is a mistake. Women that want to become rabbis, women that want to become these teachers for men, not just women, women that want the limelight, it's a mistake to do that, and mainly because, number one, you have a role in the world. You have a role in the world, and being a teacher is not the first role. You have to be a teacher to your kids, you have to be a teacher in your own house. If you've mastered that and then you still have extra time, then ashrech, wow. But aside from that, as far as to be a leader of a community, it's not the role of a woman in Judaism. I know that they do it in Reform and Christianity and other types of religions, conservative, missionaries, there's all types of women in there, but that's not our religion. Judaism does not have women leaders in that aspect of it. At least that's not for an entire community. You could do it for a group of women, teach a group of women. That's fantastic. That's actually a good idea even. But you have to make sure that you have some type of leader that you're learning from, and not just deciding on your own. And that becomes a difficult that becomes a difficult issue. But either way, the people that want to be the next Bruya should also know that Bruya's end wasn't as good as her beginning. The stories that most people know is that Bruya beat the odds. She became a Talmidah Chachama, and she actually even won a few debates with Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, and she even won a few debates with the Chachamim. But unfortunately, the end wasn't as pretty. The end wasn't as pretty. She had a lot of tikkunim in her life. For example, 2 of her children died. And one day they died on Shabbat, and she didn't want to disturb Rabbi Meir. She had a lot of emunah, and she was very serious in regards to her connection with Hashem. So she didn't want to disturb Rabbi Meir, and she didn't tell him. At the end of Motzei Shabbat, or at Motzei Shabbat, she told Rabbi Meir, her husband, how she kept it to herself is unbelievable. Obviously shows you how ma'alah, how significant she was. She said to Rabbi Meir, the debt collector that gave us a collateral, he's here to collect the collateral. Should I give it to him? He said, of course, mitzvah. She says, come with me. She takes her husband by the hand, she takes him to the room, she opens the room, he sees 2 of his kids dead. She says, the Baal Habayit, Hashem, decided to come pick up the collateral. He gave us collateral, he gave us 2 kids, he wanted them back. Rabbi Meir started crying because he didn't have emunah like she did. He didn't have. So she was huge. But unfortunately, she took it a little too far, where she lost respect for the Chachamim. She lost respect for the Chachamim in a sense that she decided that when the Chachamim said, Nashim de'atam kala, that the mind of a woman is weaker. Not weaker in intellect, but they're easier to convince. There's more naivety in women. They're more emotional than men. Normal women are more emotional. That's the reason why we don't have them as judges or as rabbis or as witnesses. You're not allowed to have a woman as a witness. And that's also why Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when he ran away from the Romans, he didn't tell his wife where him and his son were going. Why? He says, if I tell her, the Romans, the evil Romans are going to come to her, and they're going to start torturing the other kids, torturing somebody, doing some things to her, and convincing her to tell. Why? Because she starts seeing other people suffer. He says, okay, he's over there. They're going to break her. So if she doesn't know, she can't break. So women are supposed to be more emotional. Any woman that doesn't want to be emotional or thinks that being emotional is a flaw has something wrong with her. That's the ma'alah, that's the significance of a woman. That you can get closer to Hashem without necessarily all of the tools that a man needs. But today's generation is confused. And they want to compare themselves to Bruya. Now Bruya had an end that wasn't as good as the beginning, because when she lost kavod for the Chachamim, by a simple sentence, she didn't start disrespecting them in public. She just made one sentence, one mistake, one time, that's it. It didn't take 500 mistakes. She didn't write a book against rabbis. She didn't start a website and put mixtape of all the rabbis that go against. No. One time she made a sentence. She says, no, this sentence that the Chachamim said, that the mind of a woman is weaker, I reject it. It's wrong. Look at me, I won some debates with some rabbis, including Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. I won debates. So how are you going to say that I'm weak? Not weak in a sense of inferior, weak in a sense that this is more emotional based. So for the Kavod Torah, for the honor of Torah, Rabbi Meir could not allow this to stand. Because when it comes to Torah, it's much more important to honor Torah than even to learn it. Even to learn it. Even though it says learning Torah is like you're fulfilling all of the mitzvot, honoring Torah is even more important than learning Torah. Why? If, let's say, for example, we're all learning serious sugya, serious shiur, something, there's fire coming out. Fire. Birds are flying over us and burning. Serious Torah. But all of a sudden, chas v'shalom, a book, a Sefer Torah, falls on the floor. Now, if anybody gets up, it's going to disturb the fire. You're going to lose concentration. You're going to start thinking. It's like, who's going to get up? You're going to get up. He's going to get up. Who's going to get up? All of a sudden, it becomes a discussion, and the fire dies. So we just say, you know what? Let the book stay. There's somebody else going to pick it up. Can we say such a thing? It's going to disturb the shiur, though. It's going to disturb the fire. Reality is you cannot. You have to stop your shiur. You have to stop your learning and go pick up the book. Go pick up the Sefer Torah. Why? Kvod Torah is much more significant than learning Torah. Even though learning Torah is like doing all of the mitzvot. But if you're learning Torah, that means you're honoring Torah. If you're not honoring Torah, then whatever you're learning is meaningless. So Rabbi Meir Bar Haness saw that Bruria, his own dear, loving wife, made a flaw, a big, huge mistake that may create a Chilul Hashem, may create two Torahs. Opinion of Chazal and then Bruria. This couldn't be. So you had to prove it wrong. And he said to her, I'm going to prove to you that you're wrong. And she took the challenge. And she failed. She failed in the most miserable way that unfortunately led to her death. He showed her that she would fall for a sin that even most normal women wouldn't fall. What sin? Adultery. He had many Talmidim, and one of his Talmidim was exceptionally beautiful. Beautiful person. Physically beautiful, and also personality beautiful. And he made sure that this Talmid starts flirting with her in secret. Flirt. Part of the whole plan. Eventually to lead her to make an appointment to go see him privately. Whenever she came to the room, expecting that he's going to be there, Rabbi Meir Bar Haness was there with the student saying, you see, Nashim da'atam kala. Even though you're a tzadikah and you have emunah and you knew the Shas and you knew the Bavli and you knew Shami and everything else, he touched your emotions. He touched your emotions and you were about to fail in the worst possible sin. She realized obviously her mistake, but she couldn't deal with it and she committed suicide. So before you decide to emulate yourself, you have to know the stories. This does not mean that a woman shouldn't learn. The opposite, you should learn. But you should also know your role. You should know what you're supposed to do with this learning. You're supposed to teach your kids. You're supposed to convince your husband to learn. You're supposed to build a house of Torah. Not go to a yeshiva at 35, 45, 50 years old as a woman thinking you're going to become the next Gdola Dor. Gdola Dora. Gdola Bedora. It's silly. I see that certain people, they go and they spend their time and it's a mistake. It's a very big mistake that people make, that they take certain things a lot of it the wrong way. If you're a woman, you have a certain role in the world. Your role in the world is to obviously know what you need to do, teach your own family what to do, but most importantly, have a family. Have a family, build a family, find a husband, find a, B'ezrat Hashem, someone normal in the world if they're still alive. And B'ezrat Hashem, build a family, create more Torah in the world. Not take everything on your own and say, no, I'm just going to learn for myself. Assuming you have the ability. If you're already past that time, if you're already in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you can't bring kids to the world, you still should look for a husband. No one should be left by themselves. Everyone has a obligation to at least try to build a house of Torah one way or the other. But from here we see that the keter of Torah, the crown of Torah, is not just something you acquire simply because you know a lot of information. And it's also not something that you keep just because you've acquired it already. You can say that Bruria had it. If she won a debate an halachic debate multiple times against the biggest giant in the history of Am Yisrael, obviously she had it. But doesn't mean you're going to keep it. So the Mishnah here tells us Torah is even greater than priesthood or royalty. Royalty is acquired along with 30 prerogatives. Priesthood is with 24 gifts. But Torah is acquired by the means of 48 qualities. Just like the priesthood and kinghood, royalty, are acquired through lineage, and they get certain gifts, Torah is acquired through mesirut nefesh, through sacrifice. Or unlike, should be the word. Torah is acquired through toiling, through trying hard, which means, good news, anyone can have it, even if you're a priest, even if you're a king, even if you're not. But these 48 kinyanim, they call it, these 48 qualities, prerogatives, are each by themselves significant and not easily acquired. First and foremost is Talmud, studying. If you study, you'll pass. If you don't study, you won't pass. This was my policy my whole life when I was teaching young kids, or even older ones, that wanted to take the huge test called the Series 7 with 265 questions over a 7-hour period, and a passing grade was 70. Average grade was a failing grade. But there was a very simple solution. If you study, you'll pass. Not if you study while you're eating bamba and beastly and watching a show and listening to music on the side and then having a couple of cigarettes and going out for drinks. No. If you study, meaning you close yourself from the world until your average is a 90% percentile score. If you got to a point where 90% of the time you got the right answer, you could pass the real test. But if you got to a point where your average is 70, 80, you're not passing the test. At least it's unlikely. But if you study, you'll pass. Same thing with Torah. If you study, you'll pass. Meaning, if you close yourself from the world, and you shut off the phone, and you shut off the computer, and you shut off the world, and you shut off everything, and you take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, 15 minutes, whatever you can get, and actually study, this type of program will eventually work and yield fruit. But if you only do what I just said randomly, and the rest of the time you're joking around, you're just doing it, you're studying here and there you're watching TV, and here and there you're making big sins, and here and there you're going out with goyot, and here and there you're eating non-kosher, and here and there, or every day you're wasting seed, then nothing of what I'm saying is pertaining to you. Nothing. Why? Because you're not treating it seriously. Studying means you have to have structure. V'yigita bo yomam v'layla. You have to get there to the morning, you have to get there at night. Meaning get there studying Torah. Shmiat ha'ozen, attentive listening. We've talked about this many times. One of the things we always have to remind ourselves is that we have to have a rabbi that we're going to listen to. If you don't have a rabbi, you're never going to succeed in Torah. You're never going to succeed in Torah. You could say, yeah, but I don't have a rabbi, but I already read half the Shas. Okay, you could read the whole Shas, you're still never going to succeed. You could read the whole Shas 5 times, you're still never going to succeed. Why? Without a rabbi, you can make an halachic mistake and live making sins your whole life. Why? Because the rabbi is not there to tell you the truth. It's like, yeah, but I know more than the rabbi. No, you don't. No, you don't. Why? There's always going to be a rabbi that knows more than you. You study for 5 years, there's a rabbi that studied for 10 years. No, I don't have one next to me. Okay, so find one that's not next to you. Meaning the only reason anyone doesn't have a rabbi is because they don't want one. It's not because they're not available. There's, Baruch Hashem, plenty of them. Even though we always talk about a lot of wicked ones, there's, Baruch Hashem, a lot of good ones too. We highlight the wicked ones because we need to warn people. We don't need to highlight the good ones. They already highlight themselves by being good. The reality is, anyone who does not have a rabbi, it's only because you don't want one. And usually the reason is because you have a huge ego. the size of this building times 10, and you will not allow anyone to tell you what to do. That attitude already cancel out the rest of the list. It does not apply to you. Why? Ego and Torah don't go together. So attentive listening is also can be applicable to the sense of listening to your rabbi. Articulate speech, when you're going to communicate your ideas to people. Make sure you could articulate these ideas in a sense that you could explain it to a 5-year-old. If you can't explain something to a 5-year-old, you don't know it well enough. You don't know well enough. A lot of people have decided in recent years to take upon themselves public speaking. Everybody became a YouTuber. Now, if you're YouTubing reviews for toys or review for cars, no one really cares how you speak. They just care if you have little trinkets in the background, you're making a lot of noise, and that's all people care about. There's this 7-year-old kid made over $20 million last year reviewing toys. 7-year-old kid. He already has a career for 4 years. Don't think it's just the rookie year. 4 years he's reviewing toys. He made $20 million last year. Unbelievable. When Hashem wants to give somebody money, there's no power in the world that's going to stop it. Yeah, honey, listen. Yeah, you remember that 3-year-old that you have in your house? Yeah, he's going to be the one that makes the most amount of money. What? Who would have thought such a thing? 7-year-old kid makes $20 million a year reviewing YouTube toys on YouTube. Anyway, Rabotai, if you're reviewing toys, no one really cares about your speaking ability and whether you're clear or you're not. People are looking for action. But if you're going to teach Torah, being clear is not a suggestion. It's not a suggestion. It's a requirement. Because if you're not clear, you are, my friend, taking people's life in your hands. That's why we had a Mishnah some time ago where it says, Chachamim tizaru b'divrechem. Wise, be careful with your words. Why? You could lead people to Gehenom. Why? You say something in a way that really is not so clear. It makes the kasher sound like not kasher. And the not kasher sounds like it's a mitzvah. Kasher. Why? Because you were like a little vague. Guys, this is not such a big deal type of mentality. You now put everybody's averot on your head. And unfortunately, there's a lot of decent people that have done that to themselves. They make these videos and they talk about controversial topics, or they have debates with controversial people or even other religions, and they simply put Am Yisrael's averot on their head. Am Yisrael themselves also has enough, Baruch Hashem. But they put their averot on them also. Why? Because now people think it's okay to do what they're doing. Some examples are like people that talk about wigs without really knowing what they're talking about. People that talk about wigs without really knowing allowed, not allowed, what's the halakha, what's not halakha, what's yes, what's not. Or people that want to talk about, for example, debating Christians. This has become a new hot issue. Every Joe wants to debate Christians. He listens to a few lectures by Rabbi Tovia Singer, Rabbi Mizrahi, maybe Rabbi Skobak. At some point I come along maybe because they want to make fun of people. And they decide that they are now experts. They're experts and they want to debate. They want to debate some big guy. What they don't realize is that the Christian is not coming to debate. This is what people will never understand without life experience. You can know all the information in the world, and you could be right, because of course our Torah is right. You don't even have to debate it. It's right. Even the Christian is going to say the Torah is right. He's not saying the Torah is right. It's wrong. He's saying the Torah is right. It's just he believes he has a continuation. But he's not coming to debate you. They already lost the debate 900 years ago. They're still licking their wounds from the Ramban 850 years ago. They're still licking their wounds. They can't win the debate. Everybody knows they can't win the debate. There is no debate. So how come they're winning debates? How come they're winning debates? Because the Christian, Rabotai, is not coming for the debate. The Christian is a armumi, he's a snake. He's not coming for the debate. He's not coming to win the debate. He's simply coming to get a new audience. That's all he's coming for. He's coming to get a new audience because he figures you're going to bring 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people. At least 1 to 5% are going to agree with him. He's not looking to convert everyone. He's not looking to do everything. No! He wants one guy. One guy for the Christians. He feels he got Olam Haba. Alavai, we were as zealous as them about our own people. That's the mistake people are making with these debates. Unless you are there to debate in a very aggressive way to destroy them and make a huge Kiddush Hashem by destroying them and making any Christian, any person in the room, second guess even the fact that they even second guessed Judaism, and unless you're going to teach Torah Emet to the fullest, reward and punishment and everything, you have nothing, you have no business to be on this debate. You have no business to be in this debate. People much bigger than you have failed miserably at it, unfortunately, and we lost a lot of Jews because of it. We lost a lot of Jews because of it, and right now, the Christians are partying. They're partying over us. To give you a little bit of a insight of the danger that's happening, that unless you're in the business, you're simply not going to know, at least for the most part. The Christians are converting more Jews today than any other time in history other than the forced conversions that happened in Spanish Inquisition and other times like that. They're converting people left and right. They have an unlimited budget. There's this one group of Reshaim Ahurim in Israel called One for Israel, Shem Reshaim Yirkav. These two Israelis specifically, and then there's a few obviously behind the scenes Israelis, missionaries, Christian missionaries with literally I don't know if there is even a number of a budget. Millions and millions of dollars. They make as far as quality, the quality of their videos is unprecedented. And they bring Jews down on a regular basis. Unfortunately, because they fool them, because we are an ignorant people today. We don't know enough about our own Torah, so as soon as someone makes us question it, we already question it ourselves. We never checked. So a lot of people are failing because of this. These Arurim have actually been on our target already for the last few years. We've actually had a few videos about them in Hebrew. Rabbi Ephraim destroyed them a few times. And they actually sent us a letter recently promising to destroy us. So we can't wait, Be'ezrat Hashem. We can't wait, Be'ezrat Hashem, for them to make another opportunity for us to sanctify Hashem's name by showing them how stupid any Christian is in the world, or anyone that believes in the New Testament, or Yeshua, or Jesus, or whatever, Pikachu, whatever you want to call these morons. Anyone that believes in this religion is simply an idiot. There's no other description for them. Why? You believe that God can die. You believe that God can have sex with a woman. You believe that God can make mistakes. That's what believing in the New Testament means. You believe in all those things. Now you can't say, no, I don't believe in those things. What do you mean? So what do you believe in? No, I believe he's the Messiah. I believe it. Wait, but your book doesn't believe it. You can't say, I believe in him that's represented in this book, but I don't believe in the book. You can't say that. You have to be, something's wrong with you. Which brings us to the next Rasha Aru that we've spoken about before, Yitzchak Shapiro Shem Reshaim Merkav. This menuval, this nevela, this mamash disgusting human being, filth of the filth human being, fools people on a regular basis, making them believe that he's a Jew. Because he speaks a little bit of broken Hebrew, and he came from Israel, and he thinks that's what makes you a Jew. My friend, that's not what makes you a Jew. What makes you a Jew is following the Torah. And he doesn't know a second thing about Torah. All he does is take divrei chachamim, take the words of the sages, and manipulates them to fool the fools. And he has now decided that his new target is Chabad. So he now sets up camp, going to different Chabad centers around the world that are very, very welcoming. and very nice people, and don't know that this enemy is really the worst thing on earth. They don't realize. They think he's a friend. Oh yeah, come in, come in. And he starts talking about Yeshu Yimach Shemo V'Zichro inside Chabad centers. And he tries to manipulate people there. And just the other day he posted, look at how successful we are within Chabad. This is our new target, and so on and so forth. So for the first time in history, we're seeing that these missionaries, these Christian missionaries, they're not just going after the weak. They're also going after the strong too. There are a group of them that go after the Haredim, the ultra-Orthodox. They actually had somebody translate the New Testament, the False Testament, into Yiddish. They got a few people to bring it into yeshivot, fool people under the table, and so on and so forth. There's actually one guy that's a counter-missionary, I forget his name, but he's a very, very nice person. There was an article about him in Ami magazine, and he talks about this. He talks about this, how they're going after everyone now. For the first time in history, the Christians are going after everyone in open light. But we open the door for them. Instead of fighting back, we're opening the door for them. There's a few bodadim, a few among us that are fighting it, are saying things like I'm saying it. But the other people are like, no, they mean well. They're our brothers. They have a lot of money. They can help us. This is like saying that Iran is going to start a new campaign for the Holocaust to help memorialize the Holocaust. They have a lot of money. So, Rabotai Karim, if you don't know what you're doing right now, as far as Torah is concerned, you're going to have to, because time is running out, and you're going to have to be very, very clever in order to survive. So you're going to have to be able to teach people very clearly, teach yourself, teach your family, know just enough to be dangerous, but dangerous against the Yetzer Hara, not dangerous against the public. Intuitive understanding, discernment are of course a prerequisite that if a person does not delve into the topic, think about it, meditate over it, all of the things that we say are simply going to go into one ear, stay in your head for a few days, and then leave, go on vacation forever. If you don't watch these shiurim a few times, think about them, take notes, think about them again, review them, and you just treat them like entertainment, like you came for a movie for 2 to 3 hours, then it's better off you don't come. It's better off you don't watch. Why? It's a waste of time. Now I'm talking right now to the people that have been watching for a while. If you're brand new, then Bezrat Hashem, keep watching once, it's enough for you. You watching once already is enough, Bezrat Hashem. But the people that have already been watching for 2, 3 years, if you don't have 2 to 3 huge notebooks full of notes of all the stuff that we've learned together over the last few years, you simply have been grinding water. Stop it. Get a notebook, a pen. If you don't have one, I'll send you one. Doesn't cost that much. And start writing some notes. Why? Because it's the only way this is going to start going in here. It's not a movie. It's not a song. You're not going to memorize it just because I said it. I don't memorize it, and I'm the one saying it. You have to review it. That's how you learn Torah. You have to think about it. You heard something that touched you? Write it down. 1 sentence. Go over it once a day. Go over it once a week. Go over it once a month. Do something. But if you're simply going to watch and treat the lecture like it's a movie, it's never going to go into your heart enough to make an imprint. And what I mean by an imprint is that pretty much you have to be strong enough that even if, let's say, for example, electricity was shut off, which eventually will be shut off at the end of the world, there's not going to be electricity, which means you're not going to be able to watch our shiurim unless you come. Unless you come to the shiur. There's no YouTube. So you have to have enough knowledge at that point when there's no electricity that knowledge is made engraved into your heart. That even if you don't watch a lecture for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, you're still okay. Don't be one of those people where if you don't watch, you went on vacation, you went on some work trip, you got married, and you just simply can't watch for a week or 2 or 3 or even a month. All of a sudden you're like modern. All of a sudden you're like half a Christian. All of a sudden you forgot you were a Jew because you haven't watched Shurim in a month. You have to take these shiurim, you have to engrave them into your heart. The only way to do it is by taking them much more than face value, meaning much more than just watching the shiur. Awe and reverence, being scared of Hashem. People are telling me today, literally, every day, somebody tells me that they went to yeshiva, they learned from book, they did this, they did that, but they never knew that you're supposed to be scared of God. Somebody just told me yesterday, listen, I went to yeshiva for a year and a half, yeshiva gdolah. Read a lot of books, had a lot of rabbis, everything was wonderful, but the first time I ever heard that having fear of Hashem was a requirement, was actually a mitzvah out of the 613 mitzvot, was when I started watching your shiurim. He said, I asked the rabbi about it. He's like, no, don't worry about punishment. Just learn Torah, everything's going to be fine. I didn't want to really tell him what I think about such rabbis, because if he continues watching my shiurim, he'll know what I think about them. He knows what the Torah thinks about them. But Yirat Shamayim goes along with learning Torah. If your Torah does not have Yirat Shamayim, it's not Torah. It's not Torah. Joy, modesty, purity, all of these things go with Torah. These are all things that if you want to inherit the Keter Torah, the crown of Torah, you have to have them. You have to be a modest person. You have to work on your humility, because like we learned on Sunday, if you don't work on humility, that means that your natural belief that you are better than the rest of the world, your arrogance, your gava, is simply going to get worse and worse by the year. Every year you'll become more and more despicable, more and more intolerable to Hashem, more and more intolerable to the people around you, to the point where the Gemara says that even your wife will hate you. By the way, how do you know that there's two arrogant people in the same room? They both hate each other. Because arrogant people hate each other more than anybody else. So unfortunately, arrogance is simply something that people think is just going to go away like a headache. It doesn't. Unless you work on humility, it will not go away. It will get worse. And when arrogance gets worse, the worst possible traits come from it. All of the bad things, whether every single sin in the Torah starts with arrogance. Every single sin. So this is something that a person needs to work on. Joy. If you're not happy as a result of living the life of Torah, there's something wrong. Now I understand that life is difficult. Baruch Hashem, I understand very well that life is difficult. But difficulty and joy have nothing to do with each other. People think that if you have a difficult life, that means you can't be joyful, you can't be happy. That's wrong. There's nothing further from the truth. Having joy comes with having a purpose. Difficulty comes with having a life. If you're alive, you'll have difficulties. But joy is simply your perspective on things. If you see that everything is part of the grand plan of a Borei Barach, of the Creator above us, may His name be blessed, then what are you so sad about? It's part of the plan. Yeah, but I didn't expect my foot to hurt. Well, He did. It was part of His plan for your foot to hurt. Because once you break a foot, it hurts. And that was His plan, to make sure your foot breaks. Why? Ask Him when you get up there after 120. After 120, ask Him, Hashem, why did you do it? But by the way, you should know, Job, Alav Shalom, was not a Jew. He was a Noahide, righteous Noahide, but was a prophet. If you see, he had 40 chapters of questions. Verse after verse, verse after verse, question. Why this? Why this? Why this happened? 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 Ooh, so many questions he had. As soon as he saw Hashem, he didn't answer any questions. Hashem never answered them. But he said to Hashem, I see you, I don't have any questions. I see you, I don't have any questions. When you see the Shekhinah, when you see Hashem, there's no questions. There's no questions. Rabotai, if there's no joy in your life of Torah, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. You're doing something wrong. There's nothing wrong with the Torah. Torah is Kedoshah. Torah is happiness. Torah is glory. Torah is the best of the best. There's something wrong. You're not applying something. You're not doing something. It's like sometimes you can have a rocket. And each one of these rockets that NASA has built in the past literally cost billions and billions of dollars. Their budget over the years was close to $1 trillion just to go to the moon, and they never really went. But anyway, it's a different story. They'll go to the moon and pretend to go to the moon, cost them almost $1 trillion to pretend. To go to the moon cost them almost $1 trillion to make pretend. We could have done it for free. But anyway, they did it for almost $1 trillion, Rabotai. But why do people believe they went? Why do people believe they went? Why? What do you think? It's because of Bugsy over there, Buzzer, whatever his name is, that said one giant step for man. No, it's not because of that video. It has nothing to do with it. Because they saw the black and white that looked completely fake. No, it's not. That's not the reason. Why people thought he went to the moon. You know why people thought he went to the moon? Because they saw people dying, trying to go to the moon. They saw other rockets after go and not make it, blow up in midair. That made it much more realistic. They saw how difficult it is. Now, if you actually assess the rockets that blew up, Shem Yerachem, people died. One of them was a Jew, an Israeli, had a Sefer Torah. Died. What happened? When they evaluate, because they spend literally billions and billions of dollars on each rocket, they literally know every screw, there's over 1 million pieces, go into making one of these rockets. 1 million. Imagine if you just put all of those millions of pieces together, just next to each other, not put them together, just it would fill up a whole field, a football field. Just the pieces. There's over 1 million pieces just to put this rocket together. And they know every single piece, from the smallest screw to the biggest screw to everything. Why did the rocket blow up? One screw. One, not a whole line of screws were defected. No. One screw wasn't screwed right. It was weak. It wasn't screwed all the way to the end. That one screw, with all the pressure, loosened up a little too much. Boom. But you have 1 million pieces that are working right. You have over 1 million pieces that are working right. So, all it takes is one screw. All it took was one sentence from Buria to destroy everything. All it takes is for a Jew to make one comment, one word, one look, one act. Not many. One. Destroy everything. You have to be very, very careful. If a person does not have joy in his Torah, that means something is wrong. It's most likely a lot more than one screw. But at the very least, you should know for sure one screw is loose. Usually the screw has to do with purity, kedusha. That's the easiest thing in the world to fail, because most people don't even realize it's a sin. In this generation, most people don't realize it's a sin. Rav Dessler, alav hashalom, in Michtav Me'Eliyahu, says that in the generation of his grandfather, Rabbi Israel Misalant, was his grandfather. What a grandfather to have. In his generation, he said, all of the observant Jews, of course, knew about Gehinnom. All of them knew that there's punishment. He says, in my generation, people have doubts about the significance. In his generation, they have doubts of the significance. How is it really as bad? Maybe it's a little more. But he doesn't say they don't believe in Gehinnom. They just have doubts. In our generation, Hashem Yirachem, we're 100 years later, less. People don't believe in Gehinnom. Orthodox Jews, religious, Charedim, don't believe in Gehinnom. Requirement for Judaism. Reward and punishment. Reward and punishment is a requirement of Judaism. They don't believe. And they think they're still religious. Why? Because they destroy themselves spiritually by destroying their mentality by sins of kedusha, wasting seed, immodesty. Those are the types of sins that destroy the neshama to think in a very, very perverted way. When you're not a ish kadosh, when you're not a isha kadosha, if you're not modest, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to live a Torah lifestyle. If you're promiscuous, whether man or female, impossible for you to take the Torah seriously. You may like it, it may be entertaining for you. You may like the mental stimulation, but you're never going to be able to apply the Torah until you apply the mitzvot. And Kedusha, as far as modesty, as far as how we are when it comes to intimacy, as far as how we are when it comes to our own self and our own modesty and so on, our eyes, our ears, our mouth, if you're not trying to make yourself a holy person, all of it can literally go into the garbage. So Keter Torah, the crown of Torah, requires purity. The next thing is Shimush Chachamim, ministering to the sages. This also has to do with having a rabbi, and not only having them on the internet, but having them as someone that's very, very involved in your life, where you're trying to constantly help this rabbi, this tzaddik. Why? Because that closeness, that relationship that you'll develop with this rabbi will teach you things that you're not going to be able to learn from a book. Closeness with colleagues. Torah is not for people to learn by themselves all the time. You're supposed to learn with people. You're supposed to be part of a community. Have a chavruta. Have kolelim. Baruch Hashem, in most places around the world today where there's many Jews, there's kolelim, there's yeshivot, there's shiurim. Find yourself in those places. Don't try to just be by yourself all the time. You're not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And by the way, even he wasn't by himself. He had his son, Rabbi Elazar. Sharp discussion with students. Now, most people need to know that the sharp discussions are part of the Torah. If you're easily offended, you're not going to get the Keter Torah. If you're easily offended because somebody said an idea that's the opposite of yours, and you're offended, or you get angry, or anything like that, you have a lot of work to do. Why? Because the Torah is not for little girls. It's not for little people that are easily offended. It's not for the politically correct, that want everything to be politically correct. Deliberation, knowledge of Scripture and Mishnah. You have to contemplate everything. You have to make sure that you have some basis to build on, which is the written Torah, the oral Torah. Limited business activity, limited sexual activity, limited pleasure. You see these four things already, most people said, okay, this is not for me. Up to now, it seemed okay. Oh, Mishnah, no problem, I'll read some Mishnah, Gemara, Mishnah, Shulchan Aruch, sounds like fun. Tanakh, Rashi commentary, Me'am Loez Midrash, Ishtabach Shemo, it's like Gan Eden. Wow, it's great. Okay, think about it. Of course you're going to think about it. Have some sharp discussions. Ooh, it's the best thing in the world. Go back and forth, back and forth. You could do that for 10 hours in a row. Start feeling like Resh Lakish or something. All of this sounded like fun, but as soon as it started talking about limited business activity, people start signing off. Deleted. Bye. Why? People love money. People love money a lot, to such an extent that they'll sell God for money. They'll sell their mothers for money. They'll sell their family for money. How do I know? I was in the money business for almost 20 years. I saw this happen. I saw families break because of money. I still see families break because of money. I see kids going against their own parents because of money. I see parents going against their own kids because of money. I see brothers and sisters start hating each other because of money. Parents died. Instead of people mourning that the parents died, they start suing each other of who's going to get the house, who's going to get the field, who's going to get the business. Hey, don't you realize your parents just died? Yeah, they died, but now we have to take care of our life. They forgot. They care less. Already at the time the parents go to the hospital, already at the time they go to a home where they can't take care of themselves, the brothers and sisters, if they didn't have Torah in their life, like real Torah, they already start sizing each other up. You think he's going to get the house or I'm going to get the house? He's going to give me the house, right? You know what? This is what I'm going to do. Next time you go to Abba, Make him sign this. Make him sign this document. Yeah, but he doesn't know what he's doing. He's not here. He has Alzheimer's. Yeah, make him sign it and we'll date it for 5 years ago when he was okay. All of a sudden, everybody is the most professional criminal in the world. Start putting dates, fraud, all types of things. You think I'm joking? I've seen this with my own eyes. Like I said, I was in a money business. I saw what people do to each other. There's no end. When I heard this Gemara, I was shocked. But then I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? What wisdom does Am Yisrael have? No nation in the world has wisdom like Am Yisrael. Why? Because Am Yisrael has the Torah. Am Yisrael says in the Gemara, Shem Yerachem, that the children have to make sure that they know that the body of the parents is tameh. It's impure. Not to touch it. Not to touch the body. In fact, as soon as somebody dies, everything next to them under the same roof becomes tameh. Becomes tameh. Including the skin. Tameh. But in reality, Torah doesn't say all that. It doesn't say that the skin is tameh. So the Chachamim say, so why did the sages add? Chas v'shalom, are we adding mitzvot? Can't add a mitzvot. What, they said the skin is tameh, and it's really not tameh? Says, yes, it's tameh. They made a gzerah, the skin is tameh. Why is the skin tameh? They said the sages saw, how people are falling so low for money, said we have to make the skin tameh. Why? So when the parents die and the kids fight over the inheritance, they don't start fighting over the skin because this one wants to make a point and take the skin and make it into a carpet. And then there's another midrash that says, you know what, they also made tameh. They made the bones tameh. The bones tameh, but the bones are not tameh. It says tameh. Why is tameh? Why it's impure? He says, so the children of the kid, the parents just died. So the children don't take the bones of their parents and make utensils out of them in the kitchen. You think this is an exaggeration? You see what I've seen in my life, you're going to tell me this is an understatement. Understatement what people are willing to do for money. Understatement. The worship of money is unbelievable. It has no limitation. People call themselves religious, not religious. This doesn't make a difference. Any religion. Unless you have Torah Emet inside your blood, you're one of them. Alvai that we're not one of them. Alvai that we're not one of them. Rabotai Karim, this is an addiction that people don't even know they have. Cocaine, you know you have an addiction because you keep looking for it. Crack, you know you have an addiction because you keep looking for it. Women, intimacy, stuff like that, you know you have an addiction because you keep looking for it. But the addiction to money, you may have it but not know. You may have it but you don't even know you have it until it's too late. That's what makes it more dangerous. Because some people call their addiction to money ambition. That's how the Satan fools us. Limited sexual activity, limited pleasure, limited sleep is what we got to. Kedusha, as we talked about already, pleasure in general, where if you focus only on enjoying every single moment physically, it's going to be very difficult for you to live for the purpose of spirituality. You're too connected to materialism. And then we go to the next point, which is limited sleep. Limited sleep, Rabotai, in a Chazal, it says that Masechet Brachot, page 62b, talks about how you're supposed to have sleep. You're supposed to sleep. There's no problem with sleep. And sleep is one of the things that is required for the body. So where do we go wrong? When it's too much sleep. Now the average person, the Rambam himself says, average person should sleep 8 hours a day. But in another place, in Ilchot Talmud Torah, chapter 3, Halakha number 13, the Rambam contradicts himself. It's not really a contradiction, but it looks like a contradiction. He says on one hand, if you are a human being, doesn't matter, male, female, doesn't make a difference. Jew, non-Jew, sleep 8 hours. Sleep 8 hours. That way you have physicality for 8 hours, and spirituality you have for double, 16 hours. You could go chase Torah and so on, mitzvot and so on, and serve Hashem for 16 hours. But here in the Ilchot Talmud Torah, the Rambam says something peculiar. He says, anyone that wants to get the Keter Torah, anyone that wants to get the crown of Torah, anyone that wants to get Chidushim, anyone that wants to be something special for eternity, has to know the value of studying Torah at night. If he knew, the Rambam says, anyone that knows the value of studying Torah at night would never waste a single night in his entire life on eating, drinking, dilly-dallying around, or even sleeping. Wait a minute, Rambam. You said we're supposed to sleep 8 hours a day. You're right. You're supposed to sleep 8 hours a day. But you also should know, if you want to get the Keter Torah, you want to have the crown of Torah, this 8 hours doesn't actually apply to you. It applies to everybody else, regular people. You need to sleep less. How much less? All is based on you. Now, some people that hear this take things to the extreme where they, all of a sudden, they slept 8 hours a day their whole life, and all of a sudden they cut it down. They want to be the Vilna Gaon, sleep 2 hours. Don't do it. You're going to die. Literally. Don't do it. Don't go from 8 hours to 2 hours. In fact, don't even go from 8 hours to 4 hours. You're going to kill yourself. I'm not exaggerating. You're actually going to kill yourself. You're going to get a heart attack. Shem Menachem. You're putting your life in danger. You're not allowed to go from 8 hours to 4 hours. Sleeping less is not about being strong. Sleeping less is about training your body to need less sleep. Training your body takes time. So you go from 8 hours to 7.5. You see you're okay by 7.5? 7. See it's 7? 6. 6, you're fine already. You're a hero. You're learning a lot. You're Talmid Chacham. You're this. You want to go to 6? Go to 6. But if you just start cutting things off, all of a sudden you're going to be half a gra. You're going to be 4 hours a day sleeping. You're not going to function. Your prayer is going to be garbage. Your learning is going to be a waste of time. Your marriage, non-existent. Your wife is going to say, I'm married to him, I'm married to the wall. It's the same thing. Every time I look at him, he's drooling, half asleep all the time. He's not sleeping, but he's thinking about sleep the whole time. That's not a life, Rabotai. That's not a life. You have to know how to do it. It's not about being a hero. It's not about being strong. It's about training yourself. The other thing is also, what are you doing when you're not sleeping? Every young kid tells me, I have a hard time going to Beit Knesset in the morning. I say, why? You don't have a Beit Knesset? He goes, no, I have 5 of them right next to my house. So how come you have a problem going to Beit Knesset in the morning? There's no minyan that accepts you? No, they all like me. So how come you have a problem going to Beit Knesset in the morning? He says, because I don't wake up in the morning. I said, when do you wake up? I wake up at 11, 12, 1, 2, the next day, sleep like a bear for the winter. Shtabach Shimo La'ad. We're lucky you're awake. We're seeing you awake. It's like seeing Mashiach. When are you awake? I'm awake at night. What are you, Batman? What are you doing at night? I'm watching Shiurim. Watching Shiurim. There's a Shiurim you're watching. What Shiurim are you watching? Who are you kidding? You may be watching Shiurim, Bemet, you may be watching Shiurim, but you're not watching Shiurim. The Shiur is on. But you're not watching it like you're going to take what this rabbi said, this Talmid Chacham said, and you're going to say, this is good, I'm going to apply this to my life. No! What are you doing? You're watching some guy speak. It happens to be a shiur, and it's entertaining to you. Once in a while he says a joke. That's it. It's like a movie. You're not applying anything. That's not watching shiurim. You're watching some guy speak. Along while you're also seeing other things too, but you're not going to tell the rabbi that you also see the other stuff that you're not allowed to watch, and the other stuff that you're not allowed to watch. And in reality, between the shiurim, there was a lot of other shiurim. You're not going to tell him that. All of a sudden, he's a tzaddik at night. You have to be a gibor. You have to wake up. You have to force yourself. Not everybody needs to push themselves to wake up at nets. It depends on what your schedule is. Parts of my life, personally, I woke up for nets. Parts of my life, I don't wake up for nets. Why? I have a different schedule. That doesn't mean that I don't wake up at 12 o'clock. You have to wake up in the morning to do Kriyat Shema at time. You miss the prayer every morning, you have a problem. So, sleeping is definitely a prerequisite if you're going to be a human being, but learning at night is also a prerequisite if you're going to become a Talmid Chacham. But this is something that you have to train yourself to do. Now, there's a mishmar, there's something among the Talmidei Chachamim that we have in our history of Am Yisrael, that people that learn at night, where they go to sleep fairly early, let's say they go to sleep at 8 o'clock, they wake up at 11:30, 12 o'clock, and start learning. But not start learning for an hour or two. Start learning for the day. Continue to the next day. And they learn from midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock, depending on where their middle of the night is, all the way to the next day, and they go to work, and they function, and so on and so forth. A lot of the Chachamim did this. And there was a teaching from the Baal Shem Tov, Alav Shalom, that he said that anyone that learns for 1,000 nights in a row, 1,000 nights in a row, throughout the whole night, functions the whole day, not he went to sleep, he learned, he went prayed, he finished praying at 7, 8 o'clock, he went to sleep at 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. No, that's not mishmal. No, you have to function the whole day. He says, anyone that does it 1,000 nights in a row, Eliyahu Navi is going to come visit him. So there was 3 Talmidei Chachamim that said, we're going to do it. A few more tried, but the 3 were the most serious. One of them said, Mamash, I'm going to do this, I want to see Eliyahu Navi. First one, after 370 nights, a little over a year, broke. Had to go to sleep. Second one, almost 2 years. 1,000 nights, over 3 years. Almost 2 years, almost 700 nights, broke. The third one got to over 900. He says, even if I'm going to die, I'm going to get to 1,000. He got to 999. He got to 999. He was going strong. Shtabach Shimo, the 1,000th night. He's at the Bet Midrash, ready, excited. There's more adrenaline and kedusha in his blood than any other time in history. 1,000. This is what you've been working on non-stop for 3.5 years. 1,000th night. All of a sudden he sees 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and tiredness like he hasn't slept in 1,000 nights hits him. Now, misken the guy, he's willing to die for it, but he starts crying to Hashem. He starts crying to Hashem, Hashem, I tried, please, please. He starts hitting himself, putting his feet in cold water, all types of things to get yourself to wake up, chewing on things that are disgusting, all types of awful things you need to do sometimes to get yourself up. The Maharsha, by the way, as a side story, the Maharsha used to grow long hair and tied his hair to the wall. Why? So as soon as his head fell, he would wake up because it hurts. The hair is being pulled from the ceiling. On top of having his feet in cold and all types of other wonderful things to make him the Maharsha. Anyway, the poor guy, the Talmid of the Baal Shem Tov, he's on his 1000th night. He's crying hysterical. Please, Hashem, give me, please. One more night, Hashem. He's torturing himself. He's hitting himself. He's trying to learn the whole time. He's not like just running around just to stay up. See, I win, like a little child. No, he's trying to learn Gemara. He's trying to learn Tosfot. He's trying to learn the most difficult things in the Torah. Things that Alvai we would do it for a week. Forget about not sleeping for 1,000 nights. And now you have the guy is crying, he's scared, but then the gates of mercy open, and all of a sudden an old man comes in at the middle of the night and tells him, you want to learn Chavruta with me? And he learns Chavruta with him, a few dinim, a few laws in regards to Alachot Bet Knesset. Who was it? Eliyahu Navi. Don't try this at home. But the point is of the story, Rabotai, is that there is a significance to people that sacrifice their life for Torah. What's the significance? Significance is, our Torah teaches us in Gemara Masechet Brachot, and also in Shabbat and a few other places, that if you want to have the crown of Torah, sacrifice becomes standard. If you're not willing to sacrifice your life, mamash, you're never going to get Torah. You may have a little bit of conversational knowledge, like you'll be able to hold a conversation, people talk about something and you'll be able to know what they're talking about, or maybe even say a thought of your own. Many people have that. All you need to do is learn for a year or two and you're okay. You can have conversations. But the crown of Torah, far, far away from you. Far away. Never, never land. Never, never land. Why? Crown of Torah only comes to people that want to sacrifice their life. So, where do we get this 8 hours, less hours? Where do we get all of it? They use a few sources in the Torah. One of them is from Job. In Sefer Job, chapter 3, verse 13. It says, Yashanti Az. Job says, I slept when? And Az has the numerical, it's Aleph Zayin. Aleph Zayin has the numerical value of 8. So it says, Yashanti Az, I slept when? Meaning that he slept for 8 hours. Yashanti Az. But a lot of people don't want and don't like to translate the rest of the verse. And the rest of the verse says, Yashanti Az yanuach li. I would be asleep, then I would be at rest. Yanuach li, the Khatam Sofer says li, the last two words is 40. Li is 40. So what does it mean? What the Khatam Sofer made it as his, the way he lived his life to become Khatam Sofer, for every 8 hours of sleep, study Torah 40 hours. He slept 8 hours, shrecha, study 40 hours. Not sleep 8 hours and study 2-3 hours doing somebody a favor. No, you slept 8 hours, shrecha, not study 40 hours, straight. What do you get when you study like this? What do you get? Now, Baruch Hashem, a few of you already, Shtabach Shemo, already learning Gemara. Where are you in the Gemara? I haven't asked. Huh? 18, Baruch Hashem, Shtabach Shemo. You finished the Masechet? Finished? Shtabach Shemo. If you don't mind, actually turn on the thing, the battery is dying. So few of you have heard the name Abaye. Why? It's in almost every single page in the Gemara you hear Abaye. Right? Now Khatam Sofer had somebody come to Shiur once in a while. They would have other people. Started Shiur and start learning. They're sitting in the book, this, and starts opening. Almost every Gemara page has Abaye. Right? So he would say, oh, Amar Abaye. Ah, Shalom Aleichem Abaye. So the Talmid sitting next to him goes, what the Rav? What? He goes, Don't talk in the middle of learning. What do you mean? What do you mean Shalom Aleichem? Abaye is right here. Abaye is right here next to us. Why, you don't see him? You don't see Abaye? That's because you sleep 8 hours and study maybe 2. When you sleep 8 hours and you study 40, then you see Abaye. Abaye comes to the shiur. Abaye comes to the shiur. Shtabach shemo. Imagine such a thing. Even if you saw it in a dream, you'd get excited. In a dream, not in reality. Not, Abaye is sitting right next to you. Betzalel, Abaye. No, in a dream, you dreamt of, I dreamt somebody said he's Abaye. In a dream, already you feel like you're Eliyahu Navi. Already, it's like, hey guys, don't talk to me like this. I saw Abaye in my dream. I saw Abaye in my dream. You know, when people tell me, listen, I'm Mashiach. Why? Mashiach came to me, told me I'm Mashiach. Mashiach came to me in a dream, he told me I'm Mashiach. Yeah, but you're a woman. Yeah, I'm Mashiach ben Yosef. Yeah, but ben means son. No, he says it's okay, it's an exception. All types of nonsense shtuyot that come to people. People think that they're somebody. Anyway, we continue. We see that sleeping is something that you can do. There's no problem with sleeping, but if you sleep too much, you can lose everything. The Zohar Kadosh says some extraordinary things about people that learn Torah at night. The Gemara in Masechet Reuven, page 65, says a story about Rab Chizda. Rav Chizda would learn at night, and one night his daughter came to him and saw that our father is very tired. He says, Abba, why don't you get some rest? You're tired. Rav Chizda said to her, he says, you know, when my body is in the grave, my body finally gets to the grave, I'm going to be able to rest a lot. Why? I can't do mitzvot. I can't learn Torah. So I'll be able to rest a lot. So I'll just wait for that. Right now, my body is not at rest in the grave. I have to learn Torah. Meaning, Rabotai, is that all the excuses in the world that we have of this, and I'm tired, and I'm this, and I'm that, it's not going to hold any value when you get up to Shemaim. No one says you have to go from nothing to learning every night, 24 hours a day. Obviously, every person needs to use his wisdom to decide when, how, and who, and all that stuff. But at least we're supposed to get a perspective, like something perspective of what is it worth, this keter, this crown. Once you establish that having this crown of Torah is worth literally more than life itself, now you have a different perspective. Now you're like, wait a minute. So if this crown of Torah is worth so much that the smartest, wisest, purest people on earth were willing to sacrifice their life just to acquire this Torah, so why should I exert the same effort acquiring something else? Like money, women, and all these other things. If I'm already exerting all this effort and so on, let me try to at least acquire something that other people say that are much smarter than me, much holier than me, much greater than me. They all agreed. This is really valuable. This is really valuable. The next thing is, if somebody wants to have this Keter Torah, this crown of Torah, it talks b'mi'ut zchut, mi'ut sicha. Mi'ut sicha means limited conversation. What does limited conversation mean? Limited conversation is something that I tell you all the time, is stop wasting your time talking nonsense. People love to talk about politics, the stock market, their opinions about different things, as if their opinion matters. You know, they write blogs about their opinions, as if anyone cares, and they get a high out of it that 18 people pressed like about their political opinion, about their new ideas for how to run the government, of what the Fed should do with interest rates. Unless you're making money out of it, because that's what you do for a living, it is a complete waste of time. If you're making money out of it, then it's your vocation, then it's your job, you're making money out of it. You know, if you're a journalist, you write articles. I mean, if you don't write articles, you're going to go get fired. If you're a author of, children's books, and you keep writing children's books, fine, that's your job. If you're, some type of advisor of some kind, and you get your clients through writing articles about your industry, that's fine, no problem with it. But if you simply have nothing to do with your time, you just have extra time on you, because you work for some easy job, you finish at 5 o'clock on the dot, you have dinner at 5:30, and the rest of the night to make as many sins as you want until the next day. So, and you have nothing to do. So what do? You go naturally to where? Facebook or Twitter or some of these other places that you can waste time without even realizing it. And you decide, you know what? Let me express my opinion about what Donald Trump said or what he didn't say or what he should say. And what do I think about the wall? And what do I think about immigration? And what do I think about the Fed rates? And what do I think about the trade imbalances? And all of your wonderful opinions about all of these things, you are destroying your life. Even more so if you decide to speak these things. If you're writing them, that's already a big waste of time, because then some people are going to comment, and you're going to go back and forth with the comments, and no, and yay, and there's always going to be a hater, and there's always going to be somebody that pat you on the back, even though you're completely wrong. Doesn't make a difference. There's always going to be both sides. Someone's going to pat you on the back and make you feel like you're Superman, because that's what the Yetzer Hara does. Yetzer Hara send you some other idiot to tell you that you should continue writing and waste your life. And then the Yetzer Hara also send you somebody to say, no, stop writing, so that gives you even more momentum to keep writing. No, I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to prove him wrong. No, the guy that says, no, you shouldn't do it, it doesn't discourage you. Oh, it encourages you. But if he told you stop learning Torah, you'd stop. Why? You're discouraged. You're discouraged. Says stop learning Torah. Oh, okay, the rabbi said I shouldn't learn. Okay, I'm discouraged. But to go make sins, I'm not discouraged. Yetzer Hara, Baruch Hashem, it's good. It's good. It's got a lot of experience. 6,000 years. Anyway, Rabotai Yekarim, the Yetzer Hara will give you all types of thoughts in your head, and then you're going to have to start expressing your ideas and start talking to, inviting people to your house for Shabbat. Not to talk about the parasha. Talk about your ideas, about your economic ideas, your business ideas, your investment ideas, your political ideas. And all of a sudden, you are making a Chilul Shabbat Befaresia without even knowing it. Why? Because you're talking about things that have nothing to do with Shabbat. So, the reality is, Rabotai, is that a person needs to be very, very careful with what he says on Shabbat, but in general as well. Chachamim teach us that each person has a set amount of words that he's given to say in a lifetime. And the Ruach Chaim says that every word of mundane and frivolous talk that enters into a man's ear, not even he's saying it, he's just listening to it, replaces a word of Torah that was there. Every time you listen to one of these guys that has a lot of opinions about a lot of different things that matter none, and you listen to him, doesn't matter what day, doesn't matter what hour, you decide to listen to him, every time he says something that's not to do with Torah, it's replacing some Torah that's in your head. And if you're the speaker, every time you say a word, you're cutting your life shorter. Because you're spending your account balance of words that were given to you in Shamayim. Somebody could literally speak. He was given, 7 trillion words to say. He gets the 7 trillion words, finished. Yeah, but he's only 29. 29. Yeah, but he was supposed to live 70 years. Yes, he was also supposed to spend all of those words over 70 years. He was a machmir. He was very stringent with wasting his speech. He wanted to tell everybody the scores and the salary caps of every baseball player and football player and basketball player and ski and every other sport and every analytic and every turn and every this and every that. He wanted to be the living, live ESPN reporter. So he died at 29. But when it comes to words of Torah, if what you're saying has to do with the Torah, you have unlimited amount of words. Now this sounds really nice. To have an unlimited amount of words of Torah sounds like a nice thing. But there is a limud that we learn from the Arizal that it's not really to be nice. It's not really to be nice. Hashem doesn't give you unlimited amount of words to be nice to you. Of course it's nice, too. But it's not really just to be nice to you. We learn that when a person goes up to Shamayim, he has to give a shiur Torah for 185 days in a row. No breaks, no jokes, no going over the same thing multiple times. He has to give a shiur straight of all the Torah that he knows and learned in his life for half a year. Which means, Rabotai, if you didn't spend your time in this world using those words of Torah, when you go up to Shamayim, you're simply not going to have them. You're not going to have what to say. Because whatever you do here, you're going to do over there. Action, reaction. You make sins here, you suffer consequences over there. You make good here, you get good over there. You learn Torah here, you teach over there. You don't learn Torah over here, you're busha v'cherpa in Shamayim. You're an embarrassment in Shamayim. Your grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu, all the way to the 12 tribes, they're all watching you in a shiur. Oh, look, our great, 100 generations later, generation grandson is finally here. We can listen to his shiur. Imagine, Yehuda. Yehuda is there. Yehuda, you're from Shevet Yehuda. Imagine, Naftali, Kodesh Kodashim. He's watching you. You're his grandson. Yosef HaTzadik and his 2 sons are there watching you. You're part of their family. They're all waging. Oh, no. Say chidush, my son. Say chidush. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Hashem gave you 70, 80, 90 years in the world. You don't know anything? He gave you 70, 80 years in the world. You don't know anything? You don't know what to say? You're in Shamayim. What did you do for 70 years? I had a business. It made a lot of money. No, can you bring the money at least? No, it's still there. Okay, so even that's useless. I had a baseball card collection. Can you bring the baseball cards so we know what you're talking about? No, it's also there. I had a wife and kids. Okay, can you bring them? No, they all converted to Christianity. They all went to the beach on Shabbat. So what do you have, my son? Yehuda, Yosef, Naftali, Shimon, Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron HaKohen, they're all watching you. Hashem Yitbarach is watching you. They're waiting for you. I don't know what to say, I'm nervous. What are you going to say? This is scary. This is scary. Why? If you don't have something to say, you have a serious, serious problem. It makes us understand that when the sages taught Shurim about punishment, Gehenom, and things of that nature, and they said things like busha, they said things like embarrassment, people got scared of that in that generation because they understood the magnitude of what does it mean to be embarrassed in heaven. We think busha, we think it's like, oh yeah, they just make fun of you, a couple of jokes. Like a stand-up comedian makes fun of his crowd, and then we all buy popcorn and laugh about it when we go home. A person needs to know that he cannot waste his words. You cannot afford to waste your words talking about things that are meaningless, wasting your time, talking about things that don't apply to you. I see in a lot of places that, unfortunately, because there are certain religious leaders, certain rabbis, are scared from their crowd. They're scared from their keilah. Pnei ador kepnei hakelev. The Gemara in Masechet Sotah says, page 49b, says that the face of the generation is going to be like the face of a dog. So some of the Chachamim say that at the end of times, what is it going to be? Face of the generation, meaning the leaders of the generation are going to be like dogs. Why dogs? Because a dog, no matter how wild he is, no matter how crazy he is, no matter what breed he is, he runs, but then after a little while, he turns around to see if his owner is there. Runs, turns around, see if his owner is over there. You coming? You can play, coming. He says the leaders of the generation are going to be like that. Leaders of the generation are going to be like that. They're going to say, okay, I'm going to teach, but are you okay with what I'm teaching? You okay? You guys agree with what I'm saying? Everybody goes to Gan Eden? Okay, everybody goes to Gan Eden. Okay, that's what I'm going to teach. Everybody has all about? Okay, that's what I'm going to teach. They look for the approval of the owner constantly. And unfortunately, in many of the places, you see that the little bit of time that the rabbi gets each day to teach, whether it's in the morning, after mincha, or it's between after shachrit, or it's in the afternoon after mincha, between mincha and arvit, or even on Shabbat when you have a shul, usually in most places during the prayer or after the prayer, and then during Sudah Shlishit, you see that a lot of the rabbis, they teach Torah. It is Torah, but they teach things that are completely irrelevant, completely meaningless in so many words to those people listening. Start teaching things like alachot bet hamikdash, how to bring a korban. Knowing about bringing a korban going to help half your crowd that's a Shabbat desecrators? How is that going to help them start keeping Shabbat? Or they start teaching you different alachot of specific things that are simply not going to shake up anybody into starting to become closer to Hashem. This too is a waste. This too is considered bitul Torah. It's not considered limud Torah. If you have a crowd of people, if you yourself are learning something that is beneath you, or that's not relevant to you, or something that's simply not true, it's bitul Torah. So one of the things we should always consider is when we limit our conversations, aside from limiting the conversations of the obvious nonsense, which you don't need me to tell you to limit those conversations, but we need to, it's also limiting our conversations to even talking about things that are nonsensical, or perhaps not relevant, or just not productive. Like I was saying before the shiur, asking questions about what would you do if you won the lotto? This is a question that almost every person asks themselves in the Western world at some point in their life. But if you ask yourself this question more than once, there's something wrong with you. It's a childish question. It's kind of funny to imagine. You know, it's cool to imagine you flying in the air because you were 6 years old when you thought flying was possible for people. It's cool to think that maybe one day you'll be rich. It's cool to think that this and that, fine. But if you do it once, that's enough. If every day of your life you're asking imaginary questions, you're wasting your life. Because now your life has become one big fairy tale. You ask so many imaginary questions, you forget to ask the reality questions. Instead of asking what will be here once the Mashiach comes, which people want to know, they love this. If I make a title of any shiur, any video, starts with the word Mashiach, 5,000 hits. It doesn't even matter. The rest of the shiur could be about nothing. Nothing to do with Mashiach. I just said Mashiach one time just to not be a liar. 5,000 people are going to watch it. Why? Everybody wants to know what's going to happen when the Mashiach comes. What everybody fails to realize is that whether the Mashiach comes and there's going to be a big war or an earthquake or he comes with this or he comes that way, who says you're going to make it? Forget about what's going to happen once the Mashiach is going to come. Who told you? Who promised you? Who gave you the assurance and the audacity to think that you're guaranteed a spot when the Mashiach comes? That means you've done serious tshuva. And if you've done serious tshuva, a little secret, you're not asking about Mashiach. You're not asking about Mashiach. You're too busy doing tshuva. You're too busy doing tshuva. When you're doing tshuva, you're too busy doing tshuva. If you're wondering and wondering and wondering what's going to be, Mashiach is going to come, it's going to be this, oh, I'm going to live over there. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to buy a house in this block, so when Mashiach comes, I'm already ready. And people think like the world is going to be the same way, and they say, wait, he said it's not going to be the same way. How's it going to be? They're going to ask more questions about it. And they ask all of these questions that simply assume they're going to be there. Who says you're going to be there? Who says? Who promised you? And I'm not trying to depress anyone. I'm trying to remind you of reality. To make it to Olam Haba, Torah tells us, is the most difficult thing in the world. To see Mashiach, most difficult thing in the world. Crown of Torah, most difficult thing in the world. So who says? Why? Because you bought a house in Jerusalem and you keep Shabbos? That means you're going to see Mashiach? You come to shiur once or twice a week, that means you're going to see Mashiach? That means you have Olam Haba? No, it's going to take a lot more than that. It's going to take a lot more than that. You have to have some serious merits in order to get to Olam Haba. You have to have serious merits in order to survive the time and to have the merit to see Mashiach. Which brings us to the next point, which is miut tzchok. Limited laughter. Now, most people think that laughing is a good thing, and they're right. Laughing is a good thing. There's even a limud in the Torah that you're supposed to start serious shurim with a joke, because starting a serious shiur with a joke opens up the crowd's mind and prepares them for the inevitable seriousness of what's going to come. But also, it's good to start with a joke. It's not a great idea to give a joke in the middle of a shiur if it's a really serious shiur. Like if you're going to do a Gehenom shiur, or if you're going to do a reward and punishment shiur, it's not a good idea to give a joke in the middle of a shiur. Why? You could destroy the entire shiur. When you have a shiur, whether you're listening to one, watching one, or giving one, if it's a real shiur, Yirat Shamayim, Torah, Mitzvot, and so on, it all builds up. The momentum builds up. 1 chapter, 2 chapters, 3 chapters, this, that, everything builds up, and everybody's intensity builds up to eventually get to a point. It's like, I got to do something. The whole goal of every shiur should be, I'm going to do something about it. After the shiur, that's it. I'm done with this. No more TV, no more internet, no more clothes like this, no kippah. No, you have to do something about it. That's the point of every shiur. If that's not the point of a shiur, don't have a shiur. Stay home, go to sleep, watch ducks on YouTube, across the road. The point of a shiur is to get to something, to get to some point of climax. When you say a joke in the middle of a shiur, if it's a serious shiur, you build, but then you say a joke, that joke can destroy everything. That's why the Gemara says in Masechet Avodah Zarah Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos, Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol says, people that make fun, people that make jokes at the wrong time, like in the middle of a shiur, the least of their punishment, meaning the beginning of their punishment, is suffering. The beginning is suffering. That's the beginning. Shem Echem, what happens after. So here the Mishnah tells us, you want to get the Keter Torah, you have to limit your laughter. Know exactly when to laugh, when not to laugh, when it's right to joke, when it's not right to joke. You also have to know even when to speak and when not to speak. The Gemara in Masechet Megillah says, if saying one word is worth one selah, meaning like one gold coin, then saying nothing is worth two. Meaning that being quiet is much more valuable than talking. Quiet and listening, not quiet and sleeping. Like if you come to my shiur and you're sleeping the whole time, it's better you don't come. Go home and sleep. I'm not sleeping when you're talking. Don't sleep when I'm talking. But if you're going to say something, make sure it's valuable. It's at least as valuable as you being quiet and listening. Most of the time it's not though. Most of the time what we say is less valuable. Why? Because we need to learn. We need to learn a lot. So a person needs to know that even when to talk, even when to laugh, he has to manage those things. Rav Kanievsky Sheikhye finishes such an enormous amount of Torah, completes such an enormous amount of Torah each year that's known. We don't know what's unknown. We know what he does finishes. Because he has events. He completes the entire Talmud Bavli, the entire Talmud Yerushalmi, the entire Shulchan Aruch, all of the Midrashim, all of the Zohar, and several other things every single year. All of them every single year. If any one of us completes any of them in 1 year, it's already you're a giant. He does all of them every year. Together, all of them. Something he's done it for years and years and years. It's another thing. But how do you get to such a point? The minimum requirement is managing your time to the point, to the extent of managing the words that come out of your mouth. So when people come, misken, he has to bless people, waste his time blessing people. When somebody learns that kind of Torah, it's mamash, you feel bad wasting their time. Most people don't feel bad for anybody because they're too self-centered, but somebody knows values of learning, you see somebody learns like that, mamash, you feel bad wasting their time. But people come to him for blessings. They come to blessings, a specific time catered for blessings. And he would always say the same thing. Bracha v'atzlacha. Doesn't matter. He says, sick, bracha v'atzlacha. I'm losing money, bracha v'atzlacha. Divorce, bracha v'atzlacha. Bracha v'atzlacha meaning blessing and success. Blessing and success. Bracha v'atzlacha. After a while, he started noticing himself. People started noticing him saying, bua, 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 bua. What's bua? Bua is the acronym, the Rashi Avot for bracha v'atzlacha. Instead of saying 2 complete words, he's shortening it to what? Bua, 1 word, 3 letters. Bet, vav, hey. Bua. So one guy comes to him. He says, "Kvod Harav, I need a bracha. Bracha v'atzlacha." No, and also my father also has this day. He's sick. Bua bar abua. Bua bracha v'atzlacha, the son of bracha v'atzlacha. For your father also. To such an extent, Rabotai, it's funny, but it's not funny. Why? It's funny because it's like shimmer. It's funny. You don't have to explain why it's funny, but it's not funny. Why it's not funny? Because we don't manage our time like this. That's why we don't finish the Shas and the Yerushalmi and anything. We barely go to the bathroom the right way. But that's how you have to value your time. Imagine. That's how much you have to value your time. You're calculating the amount of letters, not words, letters that are coming out of your mouth. Letters. You don't get the Keter Torah just like that because you're smart, because your father's a rabbi, because you're this, because... You don't get it. You just don't get it. There's a fantastic story I heard about Rav Kanievsky. He says that, I think I told you one time, but still it's worth again. On Yom Kippur one year, he was already older. His father was already older in his last years. And during the last prayer of the Neilah of Yom Kippur, everyone knew that the Steipler Gaon, his father, had his own spot in the Beit Knesset, in the middle, next to the Bima. And Rav Kanievsky, his son, sat on the side. Different, he had his own chair somewhere else. But one day, they saw that he left his spot at Neilah, and he went and stood next to his father. So after the prayer, they came to him and said, Kvod Harav. One of the people, the person that said the story, he's the one that asked the question. He said, Kvod Harav, years and years I'm here, with your father, with you, with Israel. I always see you in your spot, him in his spot. But today I noticed that Kvod Harav left his seat and stood next to your father. Why? He says, this is Rav Kanievsky, already 60-something years old. He says this, I got scared, so I went to stand next to Abba. I got scared. Why got scared? You're a giant. That's why he's scared. I got scared. It's Neilah. It's Yom Kippur. It's Yom Kippur. It's Neilah. I got scared, so I went and stand next to Abba. That's a person that calculates his words. So this is what you have to think about. If the people that know, if the people that calculate their words to such an extent, if the people that complete so much Torah to such an extent, if he is scared, and he knows, and he is this scared, what about us? Why aren't we scared? The only reason we're not scared, as Rabbi Yisrael Misalant used to say, is because we have no idea of what it means, Omek Adin. We have no idea of what the depth of judgment is. What does a sin actually mean? We have no idea what it means. The Chachamim knew what every single word means. They had to minimize their conversation. They had to minimize their laughter. The Mishnah in Avot, chapter 3, Mishnah number 17, says, Siyag lechokhmah shtika. One of the ways to acquire chokhmah, wisdom, is by being quiet and paying attention and acquiring knowledge. Not being quiet because you're asleep. Not being quiet because you're doing something else. Being quiet and using that in every ounce of your energy to concentrate on the information that's being said, on the information that's presented in front of you, and number one, applying it to memory, committing it to memory as soon as possible. But aside from that, already starting to dissect it and see what can you apply immediately. Now the story about bua, lowering our words to such an extent where we talk in acronyms is not relevant to almost anybody in this generation. But watching our speech is. So you have to pick and choose. What can I apply? What can I apply? Because a person that gets too comfortable with speaking and too comfortable with making fun of everything, the Mishnah in Avot says, Schok vekalut rosh meraglim et ha'adam le'erva. Somebody that likes to have fun, likes to take things lightly, likes to joke around, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, everything is funny, everything is this. The Mishnah in Avot says, that person is going to make the worst sex crimes known to man. What does one thing lead to the other? How does me laughing and joking lead to being making sins? Gilui arayot. How? You don't really need to think too much to realize that talking, there's different forms of talking. Laughing, there's different forms of laughing. You could laugh at a joke, or you could laugh in a certain way to try to get the other person to join you. You could talk in a certain way. You could talk in a certain way to get the other person to join you. If you use both of those things together, talking and laughing at the same time, they also call it flirting. You start flirting with a woman that's not your wife, what do you think is going to happen eventually? Even if you have 3 heads, eventually something's going to happen. Even if you're as ugly as sin, eventually something's going to happen. And that's what the Mishnah is trying to teach us. You take things lightly, you laugh at things instead of taking them seriously. You don't take sin seriously, you don't take joking around seriously, you don't take anything seriously. You are going to fall not on small sins, you'll fall on the biggest ones. When you care less about the small stuff, you fail for the big stuff. You fail for the big stuff. Why? Because in the Torah, you have to understand that there is no such thing as a small mitzvah. The Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says that there are different minhagim that Am Yisrael has. Minhagim. But a minhag is not halacha. You don't have to do it, unless it's your minhag. But if there was even a minhag, not halacha, if it's halacha, for example, somebody tells you, worship this idol, I'm going to kill you. This is Avot. No worship you. It's better off. Tell him, listen, kill me right now. I'm not worshiping the idol. Go to a church, I'm going to kill you. Kill me. Violate the Shabbat. I'm going to kill you. You're allowed to violate Shabbat to save your life if you're alone. But if there's people watching, everything changes. In fact, the Gemara says, not even if it's an halacha, if it's a minhag means a custom, and we have a minhag among us as Jews, or perhaps even less than that, lesser, the goyim have a minhag. The goyim have a minhag where they say from now on, everyone has to wear Nike shoes. Whoever doesn't wear Nike shoes, death penalty. It's a minhag, not for the Jews. It's a minhag for the goyim. What do? Do you wear the Nike shoes or not? If it's a regular time, no, you don't wear it. But if it's a shat ashmad, meaning if they say, if anyone doesn't wear these Nike shoes, as part of our minhag, we're going to kill them, all of us are supposed to come and say, kill us. Kill us. Yeah, but it's just a shoe. The Gemara says, even if it's for a shoelace, we have a minhag that all Jews have a shoelace that's blue. Not a tzitzit, not a lacha, blue shoelace. And the goyim say, anyone that wears a blue shoelace, we're going to kill him. We have to say, kill us. But it's a minhag. Let it be a minhag. When it's at a time like that, violating the minhag becomes a chilul Hashem, becomes desecrating Hashem's name. Which means that a person has to think about it this way. Rav Ephraim had a chidush, an extraordinary way of thinking about it. Where Yetzer Hara, what does he do to us? Yetzer Hara, he comes and he tells us, this sin, it's not really such a big deal. It's only a minhag. It's only a rabbanan. It's only in this generation. It's only in that. He minimizes the magnitude of things. So how do we fight the Yetzer Hara? How do we fight him? We have to say, wait a minute. Yeah, this is rabbanan. This is from that generation. This is this is that. But hey, Mr. Yetzer Hara, do you know that even if it was a minhag, and it was Sha'at Ashmad, it was a time of where there's a war between us and the goyim, and they're going to kill us if we don't follow this minhag, We have to die for it. So this minhag, you're saying it's not a big deal. This minhag could be the minhag I have to sacrifice my life for. And you want me to not do it when I don't have to sacrifice my life? This is a minhag I may have to sacrifice my life on. And you want me to just skip it and not do it when I don't have to sacrifice my life? That's how a person can turn everything on the Yetzer Hara and start taking things seriously. Not waste his time talking, laughing, joking, doing all the things that are doing nothing good for him. Not saying you have to walk around with a serious soldier Nazi face every day. You have to be happy. You have to, know when though. Your wife and kids, there's a time and place. But if you're starting to joke around during Shurei Torah, during Tefillah, during your learning, and everything becomes one big joke, you're missing an opportunity, to say the least. You're missing an opportunity. Last but not least for tonight is Be'erech Hapayim, slowness to anger. A person that wants to have Keter Torah has to be extremely careful with how he controls his temper. Now, everyone gets upset. If you're normal, you get upset because people made you upset. That's what everybody says. No, I only get upset when people make me upset. Yes, that means you're normal. People made you upset. If you're upset, if you're angry, but nobody made you angry, that means you have to go to a mental institution. So you can't say that I'm only angry because somebody made me angry, and you think that's an excuse. No, that just means you're normal. But normal does not acquire Keter Torah. Normal does not acquire the crown of Torah. Why? You have to be above normal. The crown of Torah is above normal, and you have to be above normal, meaning that you cannot allow yourself to get to a point of losing your temper. That this takes a lot of effort, a lot of working on yourself. But first and foremost, it starts with identifying the fact that anger is bad. How bad? If you're already doing all of these other things to acquire, your crown of Torah, you should know that the Machzor Vitri and also in the Gemara and several other places, it says horrible, horrible things about anger. I'll give you a few hints. 1, anger causes errors in judgment and leads one to forget his learning. Where do we see this? The Machzor Vitri brings this up. Says if you get angry, you're going to forget all the Torah you learned today. You just sat here for 2 hours plus. You wrote some notes. You took some things and applied them in your mind already. You already know how you're going to use them. You go home. One of the kids drops some ink on your notebook. You get really angry. The notebook is the least of your problems. Why? Because now you not only lost the notebook, you lost all of what you learned. You're going to forget everything. And could be even lose to such an extent of losing everything you've ever learned. Where do we see this in the Torah? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu had a bunch of annoying people. Annoying, irritating people. He called them annoying. I agree with him. Why? Told him, we need water. What do you think? Hashem brought you all the way to the desert, made all the miracles, all the plagues, everything just to kill you in the desert? We want water. We want water. Okay, relax, guys. We're going to get the water. We want water. Oh, it started signs, billboards, everything. We want water. You're going to kill us. You should have left us in Egypt. Oh, man, what annoying people. Moshe Rabbeinu is trying to help you out. You're yelling at him. So Moshe Rabbeinu cries to Hashem. Hashem says, go speak to the Selah. Go speak to the rock. Moshe speaks to a rock. It doesn't work. The rock hides. So he figures, let me hit the rock. Because maybe it's not listening. Let me hit it. The people start laughing at him, making fun of him. You don't know what you're doing. This is a trick. What do you mean? He's trying to help you. So he gets angry. Eventually, The water comes out, but what happens as a result of this anger? We see following this parasha is Parashat Balak. Parashat Balak says that when the women of Midian come in their promiscuity, in their immodesty, when the women of Moab come with their promiscuity and their modesty, and Cosby comes and she's with Zimri, one of the leaders of the Shimon tribe, and they're being intimate in public. Everyone looks at Moshe Rabbeinu. What's the halacha? What's the halacha? What do we do? What do we do right now when this is happening? It's big chilul Hashem. Moshe forgets the halacha. He knows the entire Torah much more than anyone on earth ever knew. What he gave us is just the essence of Torah, but he got much more. All of a sudden, he forgot the entire Torah. Forgot everything. To the extent where Pinchas comes to Moshe, is Moshe, didn't you just teach us that if somebody does what this guy is doing, you have to kill him on the spot? Moshe says, you were right. That is what the Torah says. You said the halacha, go fulfill the mitzvah. And that's what Pinchas did. He took the spear, sacrificed his life, assumed he knew for sure he's going to die. Why? He's not killing some loser. He's killing, a big leader, a prime minister, a president. So he knew they're going to kill him, but he didn't care. This is the mitzvah, I'm going to kill them. Hashem obviously being a miracle, and he lived, and he gave him a blessing, he lived forever. Parashat Pinchas, we see it. But the point is, we see here that the little bit of, we can say, justified anger, in our own opinion, our own loser opinion. Our own opinion, Moshe was justified to be angry. He was surrounded by a bunch of people that were annoying, to say the least. Even then, you're not allowed to be angry. When a person gets angry at such a big deal like that, it's explainable, but Hashem still does not tolerate it. Do you think he's going to tolerate it when you don't have that kind of pressure? When it's not 3, 4, 5, 10 million people making fun of you. It's just one kid driving you crazy. One 6-year-old, one 8-year-old driving you crazy because he drew on the wall. One 9-year-old because he just lit fire in the middle of the class because he just wanted to see what happens. One 11-year-old talked back to you. And you got angry. You think Hashem is going to say, oh, no, he's justified. It's justified. It's fine. No problem. The Machzor Vitri in the Gemara agrees, says that a person that gets angry causes himself to make errors in judgment and he forgets what he learned. The Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, page 66b, says that a person that's Talmid Chacham, meaning somebody that has all of these things. If he becomes angry, he is sacrificing all of what he learned his entire life. He's sacrificing all of his wisdom. He could lose it just like that. Just like that. I know one person, by the way, that huge, extraordinary Talmid Chacham, Rav Zavichi. Rav Zavichi in Israel. Shechyeh. From what I know about him, what Rav Ephraim told me about him, he was in line to be the next Gdol Hador. He was in line to be the biggest of the big. Giant Chacham. Wrote many, many books. One day, he has a stroke, he forgets everything. But I don't mean everything like he forgets his books. He forgets the Aleph Bet. Everything. He has to learn how to read from the beginning again. Now, why did he get such a test? Because he could overcome it. He overcame it. Built again. Got back to being the midot you don't lose. Good character traits you don't lose. Knowledge you can lose. You had good midot, he built it again. Got to become Talmid Chacham again. Started writing again, boom, happened again. Happened again, he lost everything. You see him, I saw him already when he was already getting better. But it breaks your heart. He made mistakes, confused Noach with Avraham Avinu, makes mistakes in the readings, things, all types of things that this is. He wrote all of those books. Like you look at the amount of books that he wrote, the amount of kavod that he had, how much honor of Torah. He has a keter Torah on him already. He's like, he forgot Noah, this, that. Unbelievable. Baruch Hashem. Again build it. Again build it. Again, Baruch Hashem. Again build it, Baruch Hashem. Big Talmid Chacham, fantastic human being. Big test to big people, Rabotai. Big test to big people. I don't know why Hashem gave him this test. I mean, one reason I only know because I could see it because he could pass it. Shtabach Shemo. But it's something unbelievable. You see, people assume that whatever they have is theirs. Nothing is ours. Nothing is ours. The Gemara in Masechet Nedarim says that anyone who gets angry will forfeit his learning and will increase his foolishness. Not only will he lose everything he learned, but he'll end up making more sins as a result of it. Because the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says that when a person acts out on his anger, where he throws something, he rips something, he breaks something, in Shamayim they're judging him as if he's bringing a korban to the Satan himself, which is considered 100% idol worship. Yeah, but I only threw the remote when I got angry. Yeah, but I only threw this when I got angry. Okay, so you only worshipped an idol when you got angry. Okay, at least when you were angry, you were an idol worshiper. Not all the time. But they're still getting home for 1,000,000 years for that too. Like you can't use such excuses. You cannot use such excuses in Shamayim, which is the reason why a person has to work on shlemut. He has to work on himself to constantly rid himself of, number one, the excuses that it's okay to sin. Sin is going to happen. Whether it's okay or not, it's going to happen. But it's going to happen a lot more frequently if you simply make it okay. So first and foremost, we have to admit it's not okay. Ever. Which means that as soon as we fall, we have to already, if we know it's wrong, what do? Start doing tshuva. Start doing tshuva every day. Start doing tshuva every day. Okay, so that means I'm less likely to fall. Why? Because tshuva is hard. It's hard to do tshuva. It's not easy to do tshuva. So you realize how hard it is to do tshuva. It's not worth it. The next time you have the same opportunity to fail, you start thinking about it twice. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And this is one of the things that a person needs to know. So it's the same thing, for example, I tell people sometimes, there's certain young guys that are used to a lot of freedom when they're young, and then they get married, and freedom is not the same, to say the least. So when they were single, they would be able to hang out with their friends to whatever hour they wanted. They didn't have to tell anybody. They're coming home. They're not coming home. Once they got married, the wife, if she's a normal wife, she doesn't want the husband hanging out with his friends having coffee at 3 o'clock in the morning. If she's a normal wife. If she's a poor lady, miskina, I feel bad for her. But she doesn't want the husband daddling around at 3 o'clock in the morning. She wants him home. Why? Time to be with the family. It's time to live life, not be with your friends. So the guys that are used to it, which is a very, very European type of mentality. Israelis love to do it. Europeans in general likes to do it, where it's they like to go out, hang out with the friends. It's not even necessarily making the big sins only. It's also just they like to be with their friends and to hang out and problem. Why? If you have a normal wife that's going to be an Eshet Chayil, she's not going to want it. And she's right. Nothing good happens at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're outside of the house. Nothing good. So now, the person has to adjust. He has to adjust. So how does he adjust? He has to adjust based on how much does he want this marriage to work. So last time he did, they had a deal. Okay, I'm not going to come home at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll come home at 9. He says he's going to come home at 9. He doesn't come home at 9. He doesn't come home at 3 either. Where does he come? He comes at 12. He thinks it's okay because he met her halfway. He comes at 12 o'clock. She wants to tear his head off. You liar. You cheater. Where'd you go? Where'd you this? You said this. You said that. Ooh, wah, ooh, wah. She's showing him what Genom looks like in words. So now, A week later, his friends tell him, no, come on, come out with us again. Let's have. No, you'll be home by 12. He's thinking to himself, wait a minute. 12 is not 3. But she still didn't like it. She still was unhappy with it. And technically, if you're a normal person, you know she's right. So, is it worth the fight? Is it worth the fight? Not that I'm scared she's going to beat me up. Is it worth to hear the headache, the yelling, the screaming? She doesn't want to talk to me for 3 days. The cold shoulder. Is it worth the headache? Normal person that wants the marriage to work says no. Okay, guys, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I'm married now. When you get married and grow up, also you'll also not be able to do it. I got to get a wife, B'ezrat Hashem, have kids, and you come home at 9 o'clock. People need to adjust. And you have to pick your battles. You have to pick your battles. There are certain battles that are simply not worth it. But the only way we know how to pick our battles is by weighing the consequences. What is the consequence of me fighting this battle? What is the consequence of me going here, doing this, doing that? It's very important for a person to know the consequences. A student that angers easily, a student that doesn't weigh his consequences very much, and he gets angry really fast, as soon as the teacher says something, he takes offense to it. He walks out of the shul. He takes it as if it's about him, and so on and so forth. He gets angry really quickly. This person will never ever be a Talmid Chacham. Why? Because if you're not able to bear the admonishments and the discipline of a rabbi, of somebody that knows more than you and wants the best for you, then you're not going to be able to accept their corrections, then you're not going to be able to ever fix your errors. And say, no, I'll do it myself. I don't need the rabbi. No such thing. Everybody needs a rabbi. Everybody needs a rabbi. Even the Gdol Ador, even the biggest rabbis in the world need rabbis. And we see many times when there was certain issues with some rabbis throughout history that were big at one point but then fell off, it's usually after their rabbi died. All the way from Shlomo HaMelech to even recent generations. We saw some big stories happen. Big rabbis all of a sudden are going in a different direction. Something is wrong. They're saying certain things that are not necessarily kosher. Not necessarily what they used to say. Not necessarily what they're supposed to say. What happened? You start delving into things. Their rabbi died 6 months ago. Their rabbi died a year ago. So they didn't have somebody telling them, hey, son, I know you for 20 years. Don't do it. Don't do it. You have to have a rabbi. It's not necessarily just for teaching purposes. It's also to have somebody tell you to stop. Somebody tell you to stop. So up to here is what we'll finish. Next shiur, B'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow. We'll continue with more. The next part is talking about Lev Tov, a good heart. Emunat Chachamim, faith in the sages. Kabbalat Isurim. Lots of really, really interesting things. There is a few stories I wanted to say, but we'll save them from another time, B'ezrat Hashem. But up to here, everybody got the point? Anybody have any questions? Yes?
I have a question. How is that Moshe Rabbeinu? I thought he was supposed to be the most perfect person out there.
Yes.
Very supposed to reflect his face. Now, how is it that he if you see in the last parsha when he's questioning Hashem, like what you said, he got angry. I thought he was supposed to be the perfect person.
He was the prophet of all prophets, and he had the best midot in history. He was the most humble person that ever lived, but he's still human. Everybody has flaws. If you're not God, you have flaws. The only thing in the world that doesn't have flaws is God.
Even though he was on such a high level.
Even though he was on such a high level, he was still a human being, and he still had a few things that were flaws. Where we know a few times that he got angry, even though it was justified. Still, at his level, Hashem did not accept it, did not tolerate his anger, and that's part of the reason of why he didn't allow him to enter Eretz Yisrael. He also said certain things about Am Yisrael that Hashem said, punished him for it as well. So there's a few times, very, very few, less than a handful of times, that Moshe Rabbeinu at his level was expected to do even more. doesn't, in comparison to us, he's beyond perfect. He's beyond perfect in comparison to us. In comparison to where he could have been, he was slightly less. Slightly less. So he was able to get to he got to the 50th level of prophecy, but only the 49th level out of 50 of Kedusha. He could have reached 50. He could have reached the highest level of Kedusha, but he reached 45. He reached 49. He reached 49. Prophecy, he reached 50. He reached the highest level. But Kedusha, he reached 49. And some say that Rabbi Akiva, who is not a prophet, but he got to 50th level of Kedusha. He got to a higher level of Kedusha than even Moshe Rabbeinu. Which is the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw in prophecy that Rabbi Akiva was going to come to life in another 1,500 years or so, he told Hashem, why don't you put this whole Har Sinai, Matan Torah, everything that's happening here, why don't you put everything on hold for another 1,000 years until Rabbi Akiva comes to the world and give it to him. If you're going to bring such a person to the world, why would you give it to me? But that's also his humility. The point is, Rabotai, is that yes, if you're a human, you have to have flaws, but in comparison to us, it might as well be perfect. It's like, what is it like saying? It's like, for example, you're a person analyzing a huge structure. Let's say a 150-story high-tech building with everything top of the line. There is airplanes and helicopters coming out of the sides. The building floats. The windows can tint on their own. Whatever, gadgets you can possibly have. It gets tenants on its own. You don't need brokers anymore. It does everything for you. And it makes money by itself, and it makes coffee too. Everything's good. But instead of looking at all the good, you say, wait a minute, look. You see that glass it has on the 3rd floor? It's a little scratch on it. It's a little scratch on that glass. What a garbage building. That's us judging Moshe Rabbeinu is even worse than that. You understand? In his level, there was a few things. But the only reason the Torah mentions it is to show the authenticity of our Torah, that Hashem was not concerned about showing the flaws of his greatest people. In order to teach us that we also have flaws, and the fact that you have flaws doesn't make you flawed. It just means you're human. Sticking to them and accepting them and not doing anything about it, that's a problem. Having flaws, having mistakes, that happens. But you can't stay there. That's the key for your life. The purpose of life is not to say the mistake is acceptable, let me just stay with it. The point of life is to see, mistake happened, I need to fix it, I need to make sure not to repeat it, and put as many fences around the fence in order to not even be intimidated or attracted to it in any way, shape, or form. So a person needs to protect themselves, gives fences for himself. If you know that drinking, anytime you start drinking, if you have an alcohol problem, you know that as soon as you have one drink, you're going to have a second one. As soon as you have a second one, you're going to have a third one. As soon as you have a third one, bye-bye. You're going to have a bottle, and then a 2 bottle, and the next thing you know, you're dancing naked on top of the building. So what does a person like this do? What does a person like this do other than laugh at himself? What does a person like this do? He simply never has any drink to such a point that even if he wants to have medicine, he should have medicine that does not have alcohol. In fact, he should never ever go to a place, even a party, even a house that has alcohol drinking in it. And if he's not that extreme, eventually he's going to fail. Eventually he's going to have a drink, another drink, another drink, another drink, and get himself in trouble all over again, feel bad for himself, be a loser again, try to build again, and the same thing is going to happen, like a vicious cycle. How do I know this? I've seen them. I've seen these people, drug addicts, alcoholics, all types of addictions throughout my life. I tried helping many of them. Some succeeded, some did not. Who succeeded? The ones that listened. The ones that were extreme, the ones that were very serious about fixing it, the people that gave themselves leniency, never succeeded. They may succeed for a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years even, but eventually they fall, and it's as if you did nothing. If you don't put a fence around the fence, if you don't treat yourself with the ultimate stringency, if you're not extremely strict on yourself, not everybody else, yourself. It's very easy for us to be strict with everybody else. No, we have to be strict with ourselves. If you're not extremely strict with yourself, you will fail over and over and over again. Every time, I can tell you, me personally, I'm extremely critical of myself. I have to be. Sometimes it's difficult to watch. My wife tells me, how come you're so critical of yourself? You did fine. No, I didn't. I could have done this. I could have done this. I should have done this. Should have done that. Okay, it's not the end of the world. It is the end of the world. Why is it not? Because if I say every time it's not the end of the world, it's not the end of the world, it's not the end of the world, I'll stay a loser forever. I'll stay a loser forever. It is the end of the world. Why? Because I could have done better. I could have said better. I could have done better. Quite frankly, I can tell you myself, speaking, I was speaking for 20 years. I appreciate speakers. Good speakers, not people that are boring. I appreciate good speakers. I can tell you within 5 seconds if somebody's a good speaker or not. And I appreciate good speakers because I know it's a certain amount of effort, talent, and so on and so forth. Of course, everything is from Hashem. But the key is that it's much easier to listen to somebody that's a good speaker tell you the words of Hashem than somebody that's not a good speaker. Now, people always ask, how did Moshe Rabbeinu, who was not only a stammerer but also a stutterer, teach all of Am Yisrael Torah? He was a horrible speaker. How did he teach him Torah? Anytime he was teaching Torah, it wasn't him talking. It was the word of Hashem coming out of his throat. Anytime he taught Torah, it was the voice of Hashem coming out of his throat, meaning, mamash, no stuttering, no nothing. Regular stuff, mundane, how you doing? Not that Moshe Rabbeinu did any of that, but any of that, stutter. So, I can tell you that there are certain speakers that you see them and it's like, wow, this one is unbelievable. This one's horrible. You can see, you can appreciate speakers. Like, for example, in my opinion, there's giants among giants. Alvaya grain under their feet at some point in my life in the Torah world or any of these sages. But in my opinion, the best speaker I've ever heard speak is Rabbi again. Rabbi again as a speaker, not just as a scholar and so on, but as a speaker, he's, in my opinion, the best. But he's in Hebrew, and unfortunately, in the English-speaking world, we need 1,000 like him. Of course, there's other great speakers as well, but in my opinion, it's whatever my opinion is, for what it's the 2 cents that it's worth. Now, but I think he's not only a good speaker in Torah, I think in any subject he would be a good speaker. Because just as a speaker. Now, there are certain people that are horrible speakers, but they still get the message across. And they help. There are certain speakers that have a completely different style. And they're good for their type of crowd. Like, for example, Rabbi Zamir Cohen. Rabbi Zamir Cohen, if he ever worked for me when I was in the business world, I'd fire him on the first day. Why? Because he has a monotone way of communications. Like you see the way I talk, up, down, and you're excited, not excited, boring, whatever, up and down and so on. I'm all over the place a little bit, but I'm trying to keep you entertained to some extent. Rabbi Zamir Cohen talks like this the whole time. He doesn't change his voice. He doesn't go up and down. It's the same exact monotone voice the whole time. In general, this sounds like elevator. This sounds like it's going to dentist talking to you about that he's about to give you a drill in your mouth. It's going to hurt so much, but he's trying to say it in such a normal, low voice that it's not going to hurt. But in reality, you know it's going to hurt. But he's saying it so nicely, it's not going to hurt. Now, Rabbi Zamir Cohen talks like this. I don't. But the way he talks, he gets the message across. If I did what he just did, you'd laugh like you just did. It's funny. But when he does it, it's genius. Because he has the personality to match it, the way, how, the words he uses, the vocabulary. So it's not just one style works. Different people communicate different ways. Rabbi Mizrahi has his own way. Rabbi Ephraim has his own way. Everybody's got their own way. Now, I can tell you as a speaker, I don't like 90% of my shiurim. If not more than that. So I don't know how many shiurim, Baruch Hashem, we've done over the years. As a speaker, I know the content is good. It's Torah. It has nothing to do with me. But as a speaker, every shiur I say, I should have said this. I could have said this. Every shiur at home, on the way home, and all the way to the next day, I torture myself. What a terrible shiur. What's this? What's that? And my wife every time says, every time you say it's terrible, it's good. And why? Because I'm evaluating it as a speaker, not as the Torah. As the Torah, Baruch Hashem, has nothing to do with me. So, if I didn't evaluate it, then it would never improve. If I wasn't critical, it would never improve. It would stay the same thing. And you can see, when I talked in business, if you want to talk business, I'll talk to you till next year and you'll buy whatever I want to sell you. But that's business. Torah, things had to change. Why? Because it's a different subject, different content, different way of communicating it, different consequences. So if you look at the shiurim from 4 years ago versus the shiurim today, there's quite a bit of change. It's not a different person, the same person, but there's definitely quite a bit of change. Why? Because you have to constantly work on it. It's the same thing in anything else in life. If you're critical of yourself, but critical with like constructive, not critical because you just want to feel bad for yourself and become like a Christian that hits himself in the back for no reason, just to make yourself pretend like you're righteous. No, I'm talking about critical in a positive way. You will improve. You will improve. It doesn't matter what you do. You could be an athlete, you could be a businessman, you could be a speaker, you could be whatever you are. If you're critical of yourself in a constructive way, you will naturally improve. If you're not, and you only give yourself pats on the back, I'm the best speaker in the world, I put all these people to shame, compliments from here to next year, guess what? Eventually, some little nobody, some little kid that has a lot more drive than you, who doesn't think that much of himself, will pass you and leave you in your old dust, and you'll never, ever have a chance to catch up. Never. That's a reality. There's always going to be somebody right behind you willing to tear your head off to take the title. If you don't treat it like that, you'll lose in everything in life. Business, Torah, everything. Now, obviously, Torah, you should treat every mitzvah like that. Why? Because every mitzvah is an opportunity for the Yetzer Hara to tear your head off. If a person looks at every mitzvah as if this is the one where the Yetzer Hara is standing over me with a giant machete and he can't wait to chop my head off. What if I don't feel like that? Oh, that means you already chopped your head off. If you don't feel like he's on top of you about to chop your head off, that means you already chopped your head off. Why? Because the Yetzer Hara, he's not necessarily looking for you to violate the worst sin in the world on day one. Go to a church and start praying to J.C. Penney. Go join the missionary of the year, Yitzchak Shapiro, Imach Shimo. Go join him. Yeah, that's going to help you in life. No, the Yetzer Hara doesn't say that. What does he say? You know, Shabbat. Do you know how these rabbis say that you're not allowed to use electricity? Where does it say it in the Shulchan Aruch, electricity? Where does it say iPhone? You're not allowed to use your phone on Shabbat. It doesn't say it, right? So you're all of a sudden, use your phone on Shabbat. Why? I need to check my text message. Because maybe my wife that's traveling, my husband that's traveling, my baby that's sleeping, maybe somebody important is going to text me. So I got to check my message 1 time, 2 times, 5 times, Facebook, Twitter. You open new accounts. Next thing you know, you drive on Shabbat. It starts with a small thing. The Yetzer Hara, he's going to try to chop your head off with that small thing. Why? Because small thing leads to another one, leads to another one, leads to another one. And before you know it, you're an atheist, Catholic, missionary, something. Worst person on earth. Michael Brown, Machshimo. Why? Starts with one thing. You have to be critical of yourself. Have to be, but in a constructive way. Constructive way. If you're critical of yourself in a way where every day you're calling yourself a loser so many times that you're depressed and you can't get out of bed, that's not critical of yourself. That's just suicide. That's not constructive. That's suicide. That's just something wrong with you. You're sadistic or something. So these are some of the things that I try to do for myself. Obviously, there's many, many other things, but a little bit of insight into my closet. Any other questions? Beseder Rabotai, now you're allowed to go to sleep. Tomorrow night we have a shiur. I don't know where. Is it down the street? Okay, say. Okay, Aventura Isles. Get it right. Get it right. Aventura Isles. Zad Hashem, we'll have shiur tomorrow night. We're going to continue with the Mishnah. And Zad Hashem, try to get a little further in this Mishnah. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen ve'amen.